China's supply chain strength and unshakable foundation? A firm statement from China's Ministry of Commerce has captured global attention. China resolutely opposes any party reaching a deal at the expense of China's interests. What underpins this confidence? As China showcases its dominance across entire industrial supply chains, who can truly bear the cost of decoupling? From textiles to active pharmaceutical ingredients, China's control over global supply chains has become deeply entrenched and formidable. Take the textile industry, for example. While it might appear to be a traditional sector with low entry barriers, it actually involves significant technological hurdles and dependencies. First, chemical fibers, the lifeblood for global textile mills. The textile industry relies heavily on chemical fibers, which in turn depend on a vast chemical industry. In 2020, China's chemical fiber output reached 61.25 million tons, accounting for 74% of the global total. This means virtually any country involved in textile manufacturing depends on China's raw material supply. A disruption in China's supply could be enough to halt textile production in other countries. Second, dyes, from facing monopoly to global dominance. Dye production is dependent on chemical technology. Decades ago, China had to import dyes at high prices. Today, the situation has reversed. China produces over 70% of the world's dyes, and controls about 90% of the production capacity for key raw materials like H-acid and aniline. Vietnamese dyeing plants need shipments from China to operate. India attempted to establish its own production lines, but faced costs 3 times higher and ultimately abandoned the effort. Third, textile machinery, where efficiency becomes a competitive edge. Advanced textile machinery is crucial for industrial competitiveness. For instance, China's top-tier rotor spinning machines feature high automation, allowing a single workshop to be operated by just 2 people, multiplying the efficiency compared to older machinery. Countries competing with China, even with lower labor costs, struggle to match the productivity of 24/7 automated equipment. In 2025, Indonesia's largest textile enterprise declared bankruptcy, unable to compete with China, resulting in 120,000 job losses. Fourth, hardware components, seemingly small parts, significant barriers. Apparel accessories like buttons and zippers may seem simple, but their production requires a strong industrial base, involving complex processes like mold making, fabric dyeing, and metal stamping. China now dominates the production of these small components. In 2017, China's exports of apparel accessories reached $150 billion, surpassing even its textile export value. Countries like Vietnam attempt to attract textile manufacturing with low labor costs, but they remain dependent on China for nearly every critical link, from chemical fibers and dyes to machinery and hardware. Any disruption can quickly destabilize their textile sectors. China's influence extends deeply into the pharmaceutical sector as well, particularly in active pharmaceutical ingredients, holding sway over global lifelines. Take vitamin C. Once dominated by Western and Japanese companies, Chinese producers refined processes in the 1990s, drastically lowered costs, and came to dominate the global market. In 2022, China produced 90% of the world's vitamin C. Similarly, China holds market shares exceeding 70% for critical APIs like sartans and penicillin ingredients. Nations attempting to reduce dependence on China often find themselves facing soaring costs or project abandonment. India's initiative to boost domestic API production, despite a significant investment, struggled against the low prices of Chinese APIs and was ultimately curtailed. Beyond its comprehensive supply chains, China is advancing through digital transformation. In the textile industry, AI and cloud platforms enable full-chain digital management from design to production. AI can rapidly generate hundreds of design options, and virtual try-ons allow consumer customization. Production increasingly occurs in lights-out factories, where robots handle complex processes around the clock with minimal human oversight, requiring only a few technicians. Furthermore, China has established a textile cloud platform connecting the entire supply chain, from cotton fields in Xinjiang to garment factories in Guangdong. This allows businesses to coordinate production rapidly, with solutions implemented synchronously within 72 hours, an efficiency few global competitors can match. Facing potential international trade barriers like tariffs, Chinese textile firms have proactively established an international strategic triangle. Factories in countries like Vietnam, Myanmar, and Egypt handle processing, while China retains control over core materials and technology. This model of core control plus distributed production enables Chinese companies to navigate trade restrictions effectively, while reportedly retaining control over 70% of the profit-generating stages. In a world heavily reliant on Chinese manufacturing, can any country truly decouple from China's supply chains? Do you believe the world will opt for win-win cooperation, or continue pursuing the risky path of decoupling? Share your thoughts.